Pretty much, I just finished doing some DoorDash, and when I was doing some DoorDash, today is December 11th, and 2023. I want to just kind of give a praise and say thank God because I got a chance to have 2,700 subscribers today, and I was really happy to have that because that's like a big milestone for me. Just a few years ago, I didn't have it. I just had a few subscribers, and then now I'm at 2,700, which is great. I've been monetized this year, so I actually got my first monetization check, so I was really happy for that. And I'm really excited. I hope to get to 10,000 by the end of the year, and 100,000 even sooner than that. Maybe next year, gives end of the year 10,000. So maybe next year, Lord willing, hope to get it's my earpiece right here. But I hope to get to 100,000 and get the cool plaque that says that I'm an influencer and be able to explain many things to you. But anyway, so the point I'm talking tonight is the New Impossible Mission. What is the New Impossible Mission? I'm here in New York City. I've been living in New York City for a number of years of my life, pretty much all my life since I was 2 years old. Anyway, long story short, being first generation from my home country and working here in the United States, what happens is I have been learning a lot and just been doing stuff. I have anyway. So with DoorDash, what I wanted to talk about today was just about the fact that this has become the new impossible mission. In terms of like trying to compete with so many people with something so good and so glorious. I mean, imagine that. You have this thing where people are going to have a job and they raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, from $15 an hour to what I think maybe seven. It's going to be 17 soon. And what that does with the whole minimum wage is that it puts people out there to go work a job and willing to suffer through stuff. So, what the suffering was when you started doing DoorDash, this might be a little too dark, but there's some light here. My car is off. Let me just flip the switch a little bit here. And so, what has happened is that, you're faced with the scenario of what is it to be a dasher in New York City. I live in Queens of New York City, and so I don't live in Manhattan. And today I just heard about the whole congestion pricing thing, which is going to drive us all crazy. But the new impossible mission is this. Last week I took it to the streets and I just worked my butt off until pretty much I was just exhausted yesterday. And apparently I don't have my tape with me. I was gonna do some sculpting while here, but okay, well, I can't do any sculpting. I'll just show you some of the pieces I already worked on. Anyway, so I'll show you this new one. I'll save it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you this one here. This is like a new sculpture I've been working on. I'm not gonna show you the face until later. That way you guys can hang on there and wait. So anyway, so I'm gonna just kind of put it there off to the side so to kind of mess with you. Here's I'm gonna see it on my shoulder. So you're gonna have this little gremlin, this little gremlin. It's right here on my shoulder. And so it'll be there to bother you and antagonize you until you just sit and listen to more of my stuff. Anyway, so long story short, what happened is this, right? Let's go from the beginning. Today is Monday. And what happens is that we started a new week of doing DoorDash and trying our best to do the $29 an hour thing. So we after doing about 3 hours of DoorDash today, it only totaled to about 1 hour of active time, which is, about 1 hour of active time, which is pretty good. And so with the 1 hour of active time, what we learned is that DoorDash will pay you $29 if you make it in that time to an hour. So last week, this week on today, I was very surprised with the amount of money. And if you saw my earlier video, you saw how much money it was able to give to me, which is great because you see the hustle I had to go through in order to make it. And yes, so now this is the scenario. First they did was they took away the no tip, no trip business because everybody who gets an order now is absolutely, there's no tip on it, okay? So there's no tip. So you're hoping that that'll work out and you'll be able to get a tip. And then so what has happened is there's no tip and you just kind of take it hoping it afterwards. So last week I had a couple sessions where everybody I got, after I took the order, I got a tip, which was really a good incentive. Then I had the next day where I had no tips. There was no tips whatsoever. And that I had everything I took was like 4 or 5 orders and there was no tips whatsoever. Yeah, last week I did about 36 trips. And the 36 trips that I did, there was so many that didn't have tips and many that did. And so out of that, it was like almost like you got like a dollar for all the totals of trips that was out there because it's $33 worth of tips in total, right? Which is like, okay, But when it was back in the day, back last year when I first started doing DoorDash back in 2021, it was getting some big orders, big tips, and that was great. But now they have a no tip, no trip policy. One of the DoorDashers that I listened to, Mr. Pedro Beranyu Santiago, and pretty much I think he's a cool guy. He has a thing where it talks about no tip, no trip. And he said today when he did this, or a couple days ago when he did his 10,000th trip, it was a no tip order. So it's like here you have it here in New York, and I think he's in St. Louis, but here in New York, what we have is the people were giving tips and giving tips a long time before. And what ended up happening was that as they were doing more stuff, as they're doing more things, you found that these they're starting to change the whole policy and the procedures of what DoorDash is. So with DoorDash, you have it now like they're taking away the whole tip thing where it's not even on board. So you're going to go ahead and do this, and you're not sure where you're going to get to a tip. So the reason why the tip thing matters so much is because I was listening to a gentleman today, and he said that you honestly, that we're not employees of the store, right? Of DoorDash. If my car breaks down, that's on me. I can't DoorDash anymore. If my car, and I have to fix it, I've been fixing my car. You see the videos on that too as well. And you see that if I've used my gas, I've used my insurance, I've used all these things to do it. And DoorDash gives you a portion of money. So what they did by taking away the no trip is that you have to take every lousy order that's out there. People were forced to take, in a sense, forced to take, and not know if the person's going to tip on their side. Now, it's good. Most things when you go to a restaurant, they tip you on the other side. But what happens is that when we do our delivery, it's like, you could find out who the people are, the good people are in terms of what they want to do. And that kind of person, if they're miserable, like Pedro says, if the person's a miserable individual, doesn't tip a person who's taken the effort and their vehicle and their time and their energy to sit in a car and to deliver food and to, these are some complex orders, man. Let me tell you, complex orders, because sometimes you have to actually go and do something where you have to go into a building, right? And I've had it many times where I've gone myself and I do this thing where I have my family members stay in the car, and then what we do is that I go in, because it's a little easier to leave the car running than it is for it to to start the car and start all over again. Because my car, it's like, every time you crank that engine, every time you crank that car, what happens is that you just one more crank on that engine. Normal cars don't go so many cranking. Like you take a car, and this car is amazing. This car that I'm driving here, it's a real gem because we got it for $500, and we have put it through the crucible of life. We put this car through the crucible, and incidentally, with the whole crucible thing, you have it where, for the most part, though, this car has been able to show, and so if I wasn't putting this car through DoorDash, right, this car pretty much would last forever. I'd have a breakdown in the next 10 years or something like that, or next couple months, or something like that, and it would be understandable because of minimal use. But the way we drive this car, the way we do our stuff, the way we work our machines, the way we work all of our art and stuff like that, it's a lot of things, So for the most part, though, I have to say that, this is something we made. We had a class and we taught, and so that was one of the pictures I made was a Duplicalis. I love the Duplicalis. It's a hammerhead salamander. Even though this is not scientifically accurate in terms of the head, it is to me. All right. So what happens is this. I'll put this on my head. What happens is that you have it where the scenario is the car is going through, so we go through all this stuff. We're using our own resources, our own methods, our own abilities to go out there and to do what we can to go ahead and change this world and provide for a service and do a job. This is a really cool job. It's not as demoralizing as someone would think. It's actually a pretty cool job because you get a chance to do something quick. I get to spend time with my family. I get a chance to have some good conversations with my children, which is great. I get a chance to stand up against the cause I believe in. I have my button here. As you can see, my button. Let's see what it says. It says your government is lying to you, right? So we know that. So I get to stand with the cause. I get to believe and do what I hope to do and be able to go out there and make a difference. But now the new impossible mission is this. When you take away the tip and you don't know what the tip is, this solved their problem because people weren't taking trips. It was a no tip, no trip type thing, right? And what ended up happening was that people actually started to understand that if you take a trip without a tip, you're not sure if they're going to get a tip or not, but then they're going to give you an incentive to go for the $29 per hour. So if you just don't take a tip, so that means that actually got rid of every decliner. Every order that you get is an order you want to take. I don't take any liquor orders. I did that once, twice accidentally because the stupid sensitivity of it all, the touching the button, trying to hit and decline, and pushing it to take it. I was like, oh, dag. And so I don't take liquor orders because I don't want my hand in anything of people getting drunk. And I was talking about how I had family members who were known as the town drunks and stuff like that. And so I don't mess with alcohol. I don't drink it. I don't look at it. I'm usually a designated driver, and so being a driver and a taxi driver, former taxi driver, yellow cab, black car, and all these things. What I found is that my thing is that I'm a driver. Okay, I'm like the guy Speed Racer. I'm Greg Speed Racer. And so what happens is I'm a driver. It's like something my parents taught me. My dad taught me how to drive, and with that, I was just really, one of the things he gave to me to, he taught me the Bible and he taught me how to drive, and taught me some carpentry. So, but for the most part, though, the things that I'm really kind of embracing is that I drive. And so, long story short, I'm a driver. I enjoy being in the car. I love driving long trips, all these different things. And so my whole relationship was forged. My whole relationship was forged and formed, and And so was forged and formed just driving. My wife and I, we before we got into our relationship, before we had our kids together, our first kids together, um, we would talk. It was like our car. We had the conversations. We'd drive back and forth to Bible school, and we didn't do anything in the car. We just talked, and we learned how to embrace and to talk in terms of a conversation, not embrace with like touching and feelings, but we learned how to communicate. And so with that, being able to communicate, you'll be able to learn how to, my wife and I are best friends now. So, we have gone through so much. We've been married for 21 years now. We're going to be 22 years next year. And so with that, it's like one of the things where just like, God has blessed us so much. We are so happy about the different things that we've gone through. So, but for the most part though, I'm saying that a car, I watch like Speed Racer movie like all the time because that's one of my favorite movies. I would make a Speed Racer masking tape, but it's better to make it in Blender. So the Blender is the stuff I use to make my rings. So here's my rings. I make them in Blender. So here you go. There's a Blender ring. A ring I make in Blender, right? And this is kind of one of those things whenever I go to an art market, I explain to them. My point being now, when you go out there on the field, you are now in competition with everybody in the city. Everybody in the city. Because what happens is that every lousy order and every stupid order and every no-tip order will total you at a total of $29 and people are willing to endure it. I think it's going to weed people out because only the tough will survive. But for the most part, what will happen is that for the most part, it's going to make it hard for those of us who are seasoned dashers. And now I don't know if I'm a seasoned dasher in terms of I haven't done it for 4 or 5 years, but I've done it for almost 3 years. On the 23rd, it will be 2 years. Or 21, right? Yeah, almost 2 years. Long story short, I just want to say that it has now become the impossible mission to do door dashing in New York because everybody's door dashing in New York and they're taking every single order with no tip attached to it. So what happens when you get an order, everybody knows this now, there's no tips on it. So you take it at your own risk and you're dealing with all kind of people. It's kind of like that thing where, there was a lady and she did this thing. She did this thing. I don't want to go into details about it, but it was this thing a little bit. But she had different things on the table for where people would be willing to do stuff. Like she had a thing where she's willing to, be there, and she said, "You can do whatever you like to me," kind of a thing. And that's kind of the thing where now you're in a situation where you're faced with all these people out there, and everybody has a chance to have equal opportunity in terms of like going out there and reaching it. But it makes it tough for the seasoned veterans. For the seasoned veterans who go out there and they dash and they work as hard as they can, they are faced with a new monster. And this new monster is that you have to endure thousands of other people who only do it just for the sake of doing it, which could actually do one of two things or several things. One, those who don't enjoy it will eventually drop out. Two, it's going to poison the pot and make it bad for everybody because sometimes when the beach is public, it's not good as well as a private beach. When you have something that's private, it's better quality, it's taken care of, it's maintained. When something is public, you're kind of dealing with something where people don't care about it. They drop garbage all over the place and they do whatever because they know they're going to get a benefit at the end. So now the impossible mission is, how do I as a person survive this, taking care of my family, knowing that there's a new and abundant way to make some money, knowing that everybody else knows that too. It's kind of like that thing where, it's like there's a thing called scarcity mindset, and it's a mindset where people are afraid to lose, the fear of missing out, and that's the reason why so many people have like done so many things thinking that they're going to be able to get something for something. And so incidentally, what ends up happening is they're faced with a new problem because they're thinking that by them doing this thing here or that thing here, they're going to have a benefit. But it's the fear of missing out. It's a scarcity mindset. When the Bible talks about Jesus always talked about like an abundance mindset. There's enough for everybody, right? There's enough for everybody. And this, maybe I'm coming across as a scarcity mindset too, because I went out today and did DoorDash. My wife and I went to DoorDash today. I dropped her at the house, and so I said, let me go ahead and make this video real quick. But one of the things I found out about doing this was that, it was one of those things where it would be me when I was doing this. We did about 3 hours of DoorDash today, and we only ended up having like 1 hour of dash time. Almost 1 hour. It's 58 minutes of dash time. And so when I was looking at my paperwork and all the stuff that I was doing, I saw that there's such a huge number of stuff, and it ended up being more like I did more time out than I did actually dashing. And so I was out in the car like for 24 hours in the car, and I only did like 15 hours of dashing. So I mean, that's like 4 to 8 to 6 hours, 15, 8. No, see, math is so bad. Oh my goodness, it's like 9 hours of difference. Okay, 9 hours. So you go 15 hours, and you have 24 hours of work. then what happens is like you're doing more. I think it was more 22. No, it's 24 hours. 24 hours. 24 hours of dashing, and you end up getting like 24 minus 15 is 9. So you have that, and what happens is that the scenario is you're faced with the fact that you're sitting in the car longer than you're making money in it. So there's active time and there's dash time. Dash time is like, the active time is the time when you're actively doing something. Anyway, long story short, my friends, I'm going to show you the face of this new one, this new Greglin that I made. I haven't figured out a name for it yet, but it reminds me of one of those creatures from like a troll or something. But I'm going to show you too, right? So here's you go. Ready? Here you go. This is a new one, and he's like pretty much a new, really crazy looking new Greglin, right? And he's got like little horns there, but also he's got an eyeball in his chest, right? He's got an eyeball in his chest. So, yeah, don't say I never showed you anything good. Thank you for, if you stayed here long enough to see this, and you've seen something that no one else has ever seen. This is my Greglin, and see, not only that, he's also got some really cool looking sets of teeth. Here's his teeth for you to take a look at. It's like, you can see his cool teeth. So he has 2 rows of teeth. And also he's kind of like Sully from, Monster Incorporated with one eye. That's like Mike Wazowski, so like that with his one eyes. It's a Cyclops monster. Anyway, and his Cyclops eye goes sideways instead of up and down. So yes, anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got to share with you tonight. I just know there's an impossible mission here in New York. Now you got to kind of compete with people who don't, either they care, don't care, but they want to get that bread. So you go out there, you go get that bread, okay? You go get that bread. And you do what you can, but for the most part, though, I'm trying to do what I can too. But don't have a scarcity mindset. Know that there is enough for all of us. There is enough, but you're gonna have to hustle to get it. All right, so let me take this dipple off my head and I want to say thank you so much for watching. And I have a class this Saturday, so please feel free to attend. If you have any questions, please inquire. My link tree is in my bios. You look it up, and you can find out where I am. Please look up the website. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. All people who subscribed to get to 2,700 was really awesome, and I'm really glad for it. So, again, please help us with this impossible mission. I hope to get it to over 10,000 by the end of the year. Subscribers, that would be great. That would help me out a lot, my family out a lot. We wish to find a new way to go a new way. But for the most part, though, that's what we hope to do, right? So, just want to say thank you so much for that, and God bless you, right? So, take care. And, remember, go get that bread. So here's the gremlin again. This is the gremlin. He says, hi. One eye. He's kind of cute, ain't he? But the whole eyeball in the chest. What do you think about the whole eyeball in the chest? All right, that's it. God bless you. Talk to you soon. All right, bye. Peace.